Tonight. Welcome everybody to Nikken University Book Club. We are working together to read The Answer, which is a fantastic book. Of course, the major question we are working to understand and answer is how can I access unlimited abundance? I like the question. I think the answer may be different for each individual, which is cool because it gets to be different for each person. I was speaking to a friend today, and he wants to retire to a little cabin in Vermont. And he said 500 square feet is enough for him, a 500 square foot getaway in the Keys. So he'll spend the summers in Vermont and winters down south in Key Largo. And he said he'll make it back up to Vermont early March so he can tap some trees and make some maple syrup. But he is not going to be there for November, December, January, February when it's so cold. So everybody gets to decide what unlimited abundance will be for them. And for some people, it's tapping maple trees in Vermont. Sorry to our Canadian friends. We also have maple syrup down here in the US. I don't have a preference. I like both. Who brought me maple syrup? I'm trying to remember now. Maureen, that's right. Maureen brought me maple syrup, which I shared with my sister because my sister's a maple syrup connoisseur and she makes pancakes and waffles. So I shared some of it with my sister Maureen. Thank you for thinking of me with that gift. But we are looking right now at a chapter which is quite complex and quite dense, to be honest. We finished chapter 6, which you may want to consider revisiting. The chapter essentially is about the idea of envisioning your dream business and being very clear about what are the components, what are the aspects of your dream business. And chapter 6 was a complicated chapter that demanded attention and work. So hopefully you found your interaction with chapter 6 successful, but you may want to consider reviewing and continuing to work through the ideas. Last week, we started to consider chapter 7, the neural reconditioning process. And this chapter takes a lot of the foundation, a lot of the ideas that we have discussed in previous chapters, and starts to create a process, an approach for how we can actually go about putting a lot of these ideas that John Assaraf has laid a foundation for. And he goes somewhat in depth as we start the chapter, looking at the idea of neural reconditioning. He shares the story, we talked about it last time, about the astronauts who literally proved that it's possible to rewire your brain, that your brain, if it's seeing the world in a way that it's not used to, that you can rewire it. So it literally reconditions the neurons in the mind to see the world, to flip the world right side up when it's seen as upside down. And this idea reminds us of the idea that we've encountered before, which is um, a lot of what happens in our brain is controlled by the conscious mind, but even at greater depths, the unconscious mind, which we are not always aware of, it's kind of operating in the background. The unconscious mind controls so many things. It controls a lot of our processes, like our breathing and those kinds of things. It just happens without us really thinking about it. But our unconscious mind also holds those ideas, those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs. that kind of exist below the surface, and something can happen to us and we may not even know, but the unconscious mind kicks in. So you find out your plane is delayed, and all of a sudden it's like, this always happens to me. I hate these airlines. This is always taking place. And if you look at the arrival schedule of your flight, it may be that it's in the low 90s. I know Delta Airlines has a pretty good on-time record, and I've been on flights where you can go and look it up, and 93% of the flights arrive on time. So most of the time, the flight is arriving on time or early. And yet the subconscious, the unconscious mind can sometimes cause us to think, oh, nothing in the world functions. No, it's not functioning in this moment, in this instant, but most of the time it functions and it functions well. So our unconscious mind is something we want to be really careful of. And the process of rewiring, which is something that can be done, is something that can be seen as a marathon. It's something that can take time. It's something that requires consistent effort. It's not something that you go out and you just decide to, rewire, change your way of thinking and happen instantly. It takes effort, it takes work, but it can be done. And you literally can build those new neural pathways in order to make your mind a more empowered tool in terms of creating what it is that you would like to get. There are 6 core steps that are shared in this chapter. And somewhat like chapter 6, these 6 steps are somewhat involved. If you are going to use the 6 steps correctly, it requires some time, some effort, and some work. Has anybody invested significant time at this point in going through the 6 steps and starting to create a process for themselves or a system for themselves or a routine for themselves? Has anyone done that? I haven't. I'm going to be honest. Bayla?
I I've been on a healing journey for a number of years and a personal transformation journey. And I use a lot of tools to develop my mindset, to focus on the things that I need to heal. And so one of the affirmations that I have been religiously doing multiple times a day, I take some time and just do it, and I keep it playing in my subconscious mind is, I am healed, my life is healed, and so it is. And I find this is really like, even as I said it now, I feel this energy taking over my body as if it is reality. So it keeps me from going back into the past or worrying about the future. The moment is now, and I'm good. So I am healed. So I've been really focusing on that.
Bayla, thank you. Yeah, and we may not use all of the tools at the same time or during the same day or in the course of the same week. Using them individually can be really powerful, and particularly if you're doing it consistently. And an affirmation, it sounds like that affirmation, which is very connected to emotions, has been really powerful. So, using any of the tools that are suggested in this chapter can be really effective and worthwhile. Pam?
Well, I had done the book with our mastermind group of women we have, and it really, first thing in the morning, if there's anything in those morning thoughts that goes through my mind, I reword it, I change it, I say, stop it, because it's just, you got to do this, you got to do that. I said, stop it. I have abundance in everything. I have abundance of time, abundance of financial support, abundance in, my business, everything. And it does change you when you get out of bed.
Yeah, that's a really powerful technique. That's actually a technique that's also used in cognitive behavioral therapy, where you interrupt the thought patterns that are preventing you or holding you back. So when you first see them surfacing, you literally out loud or you say to yourself, stop, and you interrupt the thought pattern, the thought process, and then you replace it as quickly as you can with the empowering thought or the empowering idea. So I'm sure pretty much everybody on this call are familiar with the techniques that are brought up in this chapter and that are shared in this chapter. The unique thing that John Assaraf does is he suggests the idea of putting them all together, almost as a I wanted to use the word assault, but I guess that's what it is, as an assault on past ways of envisioning or thinking about yourself, the world, how you relate to it. And because of that, as I went through the chapter, it's a significant amount of work that he's presenting. But I think if someone is willing to go through the 6 steps to look at them and then to create a system, a process, a routine, it could be really effective and potentially absolutely necessary for something that's as grand as creating what is your ultimate version of yourself, the life you want to live, the idea of accessing ultimate abundance, whatever that might be for you. So, the first step that he shares is the idea of vision creation, defining a clear, emotionally rich vision. And this idea of figuring out what this vision is, he does state 3 ideas that sometimes we don't like to talk about publicly. I thought, should I put everybody in groups and have them share this with each other? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. You get to decide what is right for you. But he just lays it out. He says, what is in your vision of ultimate abundance for you and your business creating this, what is your net worth? What is your annual income? And what is the contribution that you make? How do you give back to others? And how do you use your wealth, your abundance to serve other people? But obviously, there are a lot of other components in addition to those ideas that go into this idea of creating a vision of something for the future. But I think this is really valuable to spend some time on, either in writing or thinking about or having conversations with others about, and to get clear about what is your vision for yourself. What is the vision that you choose for yourself? 2 ideas that he shares that I think are kind of important as you get clear about what that vision is and being able to describe it, write about it, visualize it, think about it, is to then get into the habit of repeating it, of finding ways to relive, re-experience, to revisit the vision again and again and again, where you're putting in front of yourself this vision that you have and what it contains, the beliefs, the goals, the ideas, um, for your future, and repeating it again and again until it becomes something that's just embedded within you, where the vision really is a part of you, and finding a way to make it impactful, tying emotion to it, tying uh, uh, experiences to it, where the vision kind of takes on a life of its own in many ways. So that's step one, is getting clear about the idea of, or getting clear about the vision, what your vision might be. Anybody have any thoughts about that first step? Let's move on to step two, affirmation. Bella.
That's okay. I just had a thought because one of the things that stuck in my mind is we're trying to create neural pathways through our visualization, and the more we repeat it, the more those pathways seem to go further in our brains. And one of the things that John always says is the neurons that fire together wire together. So once the synapses takes place, then it's kind of like it's embedded in your mind, and you don't even have to think about it, and you live that reality. So I just wanted to say that.
Bela, thank you. Yeah, it's the idea that the vision just becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of your reality. Perhaps it hasn't been completely created yet, but it's something that is understood by you and your mind as something that will happen, as something that you will create. That's why it's important to spend some time on that vision. So, it's really big picture thinking, and I think he's suggesting that it takes some time and some effort and some work to get that vision embedded. And what you're talking, this idea, I love that um, thoughts that fire together, wire together. I think that maybe is how you mentioned it.
Neurons that neurons that fire together wire together.
Awesome, Bela, thank you. Sherry,
Yeah, something dawned on me that maybe would be helpful. It's something that stuck with me when I was in massage school a million years ago. And that is this understanding. I just now thought about it from a mindset, but it was always clear about the way our neuromuscular system works is that if you've ever had an injury of some kind, that then if you get stressed, the body has this memory of where you that injury. And so this shows up. I've worked with lots of pregnant women as a doula. And so they would, they might have been hurt like 20 years ago, but they're pregnant, and that's where they feel the discomfort. I can say pain here because we're not talking about the products. And so the way it was described was that if you walked into this open field and there was really tall grass and there was one path where people had walked that path, the grass would be flattened. And it would be very clear looking in this open field where it's tall grass, but there's one path. That's where you walk. That's the most clear thing. And so it's kind of cool because I think this is the same thing from our mind also. It's that if we create that path of repetition of that thought, that vision that we of what we truly want, then that's what pops up. It's all you see. So that's the shift is that you only then see that path that can come. So that just popped in my head.
very cool. Sherry, thank you. Bela?
What Sherry was talking about the memory of that injury or whatever, I've experienced that. So it's where your sympathetic system, nervous system takes over. So even though the injury may have healed, the memory of it stays within your nervous system. And so there are techniques that I've worked with to try and get rid of that because my whole problem started with an injury. Anyhow, so I just wanted to reaffirm what
Hmm.
Sherry
Hmm.
said, that that's so very true.
Hmm. Yeah, it's called a facilitated pathway.
Yeah.
So if we can create a facilitated pathway of positivity, then that's what we see. That's the path that we
And
that we go to.
yeah, and it's
I'm
that
kind of excited. I
repetition.
got giddy about this.
I know, me too. It's that repetition that establishes
Uh-huh.
that pathway. So if you can break that chain of the flow of that path,
Yeah.
you're home free.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the go-to.
Sherry, Bela, thank you. Renee,
I just wanted to say, in step one, two, and three, he gives really good, what he wrote down for himself. And so I started looking at the sentences, and it's like, don't reinvent the whole wheel. His sentences structure was really good. All I had to do was put in my stuff for Nikken or whatever, but everything else was good. So I didn't have to think of a whole bunch of new things to say. he had done it very well. So I just want to say you use what he wrote as your template to be able to cut and paste in your words where you need to, but don't try and reinvent a whole big new synopsis.
Yeah, Shad Helmstetter did the same thing. We read his book Self-Talk, and the same thing. He provided a lot of great templates, and there's a lot of really fantastically worded affirmations, thoughts, thought patterns that are out there, and you don't necessarily have to feel like you have to reinvent the wheel when creating these things. Step two is something that I think all of us are familiar with. Affirmations generation, create positive present tense statement. It really is about looking at your present beliefs and being very open to viewing what some of your present beliefs are. I think all of us are aware that we may have beliefs or ideas that we allow ourselves to entertain that are not helpful. And the concept is to replace those with more empowering beliefs. And I think all of us have used affirmations in the past. I think it's not something that's new. I'm going to ask you to do a really quick chat with your group. Have you successfully used affirmations in the past? I think this is going to be true for everybody. How are you using them now? So it's going to be a short meetup, just 3 minutes. So take about a minute per person and talk about your experience with affirmations with using this second step. So go ahead and join your room, and we'll come back in 3 minutes. So everyone is in their rooms right now in groups of three, and they're sharing with their group members how they have used affirmations in the past. Something that John Assaraf brings up in the book, which I think is quite useful to be aware of, is when writing an affirmation, you want to make sure that you're writing the affirmation in the present tense. You're stating it as though it's happening now. You want it to be personal, so you want to use I or we statements. And you want it to be positive as much as possible. You want it to focus on what it is you're trying to create, what it is you're trying to make happen, as opposed to talking about the things you don't want or anything that might appear to be or come across as potentially being negative. Um, So the folks are just sharing with each other how they have used affirmations. One more minute for the last person, and then we will start again with everybody when they make it back to the main Zoom room. Welcome back, Gloria and Jeannie and everyone else. I saw the two of you first. Welcome back, everybody. I know that was quite short, but thank you for sharing with your group. Hopefully, you had enough time to share. I don't think we have anybody who's in groups of two today, so hopefully everybody had time to share. I would prioritize the idea of creating a series of affirmations that are directed towards your specific objectives in your vision, and creating a list that is that's more than three or four ideas, that contains, in the same way that John Assaraf has in the book, a pretty significant series of affirmations, and then find a way to embed those each and every day by reading them, by writing them down, by saying them to an affirmation buddy. If you have somebody who you speak to on a regular basis, you support each other, you can have that person read the affirmations to you. You can read them to them. Um, but creating a list and then using those affirmations frequently, I think, is really important. The third concept that is shared is this idea of neural linking. And this may be something that is more new to most of us. It's the idea of anchoring your new belief, so your new thoughts, it could be your new affirmation, and linking it through the process of considering it, thinking about it, to strong emotional memories. So, memories that you have already experienced, that are already embedded, that are incredibly positive, that are supportive, and to find a way to link that to your new belief, your new idea that you are strengthening in yourself. Um, One of the memories that I thought of for myself, after 3 tries, I finally completed a marathon. I didn't win it like this woman is. I think it took me like 4.5 hours. So it was not a record time, but I finished. I did the entire distance and I finished. And I felt great. And I used a method called the run walk method. So you like run for 9 minutes and then walk for one, run for nine, walk for one. And you just are constantly taking these short rests. And when you can't do that anymore, you do 7-1 and then 6-1 and 5-1 and 4-1. And I think the last 3 miles, I was doing like 3-1. I would run for 3 minutes and then walk for one. And the awesome thing is, I wasn't sore that night. I wasn't the next day. I felt great. I felt refreshed. And I didn't finish in a record time by any stretch of the imagination, but I finished and I felt fantastic. And I was really proud of myself. I have the photo still of myself. My sister ran it with me and she took the picture of me with my medal when I got my medal. And it was a really powerful emotion. Yes, Pam, I got a t-shirt. I never wear it because it's a long sleeve tee and I don't like long sleeve tees. Anywho, that is an emotional memory that I might connect to a new thought and anchor the new thought to that feeling. So I imagine that experience, being in the park and wearing my medal, and my sister who ran it with me taking the picture and just feeling fantastic. And then, boom, link it to my new existing thought or belief or affirmation. So, what I'd like you to do is to rejoin your group again. I'm going to give you a little more time. And would you share with your group a memory, an experience from the past that was really powerful emotionally for you, that gave you a great sense of pride or accomplishment or belief in yourself, or a connection to others, where you just really felt a sense of elation, joy, abundance, inner peace. And share with your group what that moment, what that memory might be that you could choose to, through neural linking, connect to a present belief and link that current belief to the emotion. You don't have to necessarily share what the current belief might be, but come up with a memory that you could link. Anybody have any questions about what you're sharing with your group? So I'll give each person about 90 seconds and try and share a little bit about that memory and why it would be powerful and why you feel it would be a good emotional memory state to choose for neural linking. Okay, go ahead and join your group. So everyone is with their group and they are sharing a memory from the past. This is the third step from this chapter, this idea of neural linking. And another memory that I might choose when I was in college, I went to Russia. I lived in Moscow, Russia, and I taught English for 6 months to a group of 5 and 6 year olds in their Dietsky Sad, in their nursery school. And every day I would go and work with another team of teachers, and we used this really innovative method where you play with children and they learn through play. And it was really a fantastic experience. After 6 months, we had a lot of Russian children who were fluent in English after a short period of time. This was a really amazing method through immersion. They would just pick up the language quickly, naturally. And I felt really fantastic. I felt an amazing sense of accomplishment after doing that. Um, and that's another memory that I might link to a current belief that I'd like to empower. Patty Jane, I'm going to add you to a group. So I'll add you to a group, and there may or may not be time to share with them, but I'll add you to their group so you can hear what they're sharing. They're talking about powerful memories from the past. I have not used this technique before of neural linking where I've connected a powerful emotional memory from the past with an existing um, thought that I would like to strengthen, existing or new belief or a new affirmation that I'd like to strengthen. But I think this could be a really powerful tool as part of all of the steps. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, everyone had a chance to share. Gloria, Jeannie, Lorena added Hattie Jane to your group, so I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to share, but hopefully, everybody got connected to this concept. I have not done this before. I haven't used this technique before. I could see how it could be really powerful to take a memory, an emotion from the past where you felt incredibly empowered, full of abundance, inner peace, whatever the emotion might have been, and then think about something you're currently working on or a current belief that you're working on, and then remind yourself of that memory and repeat. And as Bela mentioned, neurons that fire together wire together. And I think that's the concept of what will happen here is that thought will get wired together with those emotions, and you'll feel that sense of belief in yourself, that sense of empowerment that I did these wonderful things in the past where I made a difference or where I maximized myself, who I was as a person. And there's no reason that that can't be the pattern for the future. So consider using this technique, neural linking, and anchoring new beliefs to strong emotional memories. The next step is material preparation. So this is getting all of your things together. And it might be your written statements that are affirmations. It might be audio recordings of you going through your affirmations or talking about your vision. It could be visual, pictorial, it could be vision boards, life cycle plans, dream charts, and getting all of these materials, gathering them all together. So you have all of these different materials that you're going to use as part of your process, as part of step five. And there's really an abundance of different kinds of techniques or materials or approaches that you can consider using. So in that step, it's just figuring out what are the different materials that I'm going to use, what are the different techniques that I'm going to use, and gathering everything together, having everything ready to go, to move you on to the final step, which is creating your daily routine. So creating a daily practice, something that happens consistently that uses the different materials that you've gathered. And then he also recommends adding into that visualization and also meditation. I don't know if many of you have used or practiced meditation before. He suggests using it as a way to refocus, to reset, to help yourself get to a place where you're really prepared for the routine that you establish, that you create. And this is something where you have to decide, how much time do you want to create to put into your routine? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? How much time are you willing to invest into this routine of creating the future by this neural reconditioning process that all of these steps support and help you to achieve. So you might want to consider the idea. I think the most effective, maybe next step is consider what your routine might be, what you might include in that routine in order to make this process of neural reconditioning effective for you. There is a final step that he mentions, the idea of using neurotechnology, subliminal audio, or apps for reinforcement. I haven't used these a lot. I'm not super familiar with these tools. But these tools also could be beneficial to include as part of your materials, part of your tools for making this happen. So, six core steps that we've gone through. Like chapter six, you could invest, and I think invest uh, and receive a lot of rewards benefits from, in the same way as chapter 6, invest some time into chapter 7 and figuring out what are the tools that I'm going to use, creating those tools, those materials, and then creating a routine, creating a system where you are spending some time each day going through your process, going through the routine that you've created for yourself. So, we will continue next week with chapter 8. We will move on and we'll continue with chapter 8. And the homework for this week, review, go back over. So, in addition to reading chapter 8, go back over and create a routine for yourself and consider how much time are you going to invest, what materials will you include, but consider creating a routine, a process that you could go through each and every day to help you to go through this goal of neural reconditioning and experiencing um, um, working on your unconscious, your subconscious in an effective way. So we will meet next week. I think that's a good thing. I think it's good for us to meet each and every week. I apologize for last week. We had our kickoff Zoom, but we're going to continue to work and answer the question of how can I access unlimited abundance as we go through our book, The Answer. Michelle, did you have a comment or a question?
I do have a comment. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And I love to meditate first thing in the morning. And I found a really good meditation. It fits me. And I'd love to recommend it if I could. Joe Dispenza, Gratitude is My Power, Quantum Meditation to Manifest with Grace. 25-minute meditation. And I find it extremely powerful. It keeps me in tuned with my appreciation and gratitude.
Michelle, thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. And maybe write it in the chat so people can see it there as well. Maureen.
Along the same lines as Michelle's meditation, I found a couple that in the past have been very helpful. There's one called the Temple Sounds, and if you like, quartz bowls and Tibetan things and gongs, and it's a very relaxing meditation, different lengths for whatever you want. The second one is a set called The Honest Guys, and again, different lengths of meditations and different circumstances. But he has a voice that I describe it like peanut butter, and for me, I like guided meditations rather than just dead sound like, is it over yet? So that works for me.
Awesome.
Could you repeat that name?
Certainly. The Honest Guys is one. He's got an English accent. And the other one is Temple Sounds. I think the guy's name is Emil. You can just Google them. They're fun.
Maureen, thank you.
I screenshotted
those two in the chat. One of the wonderful things of living in a digital world is there is literally an almost unlimited number of resources to do all kinds of things. You can go on YouTube and search for what it is you would like to do or accomplish or achieve, and you can find all kinds of people who are willing to offer great information. Thanks everybody for joining us today for chapter 7. We will continue and we will review chapter 8 next week. Do work on the idea of creating a routine for yourself. Review that homework at the very beginning of class next week. Our book club next week. Thanks everybody.